Hey, welcome back for another look at the X-Files. We're getting back into some mythology today with the episode Nisei, episode 9 of season 3. Nisei debuted November 24th, 1995, and follows Mulder as he sent a tape that may show an alien autopsy, and Scully who learns more about her abduction. The episode begins in Tennessee and definitely not Canada. I mean, around this time, I probably could have been one of these kids. We are definitely not all this friendly though. A train car is dropped off and oh my god, not A2594, whatever that means. Some Japanese men pull up to the train car while another one gets off, and I'm guessing for a fun game of Kerplunk. Or some sciencey stuff, I guess. You know, just because they're Japanese, that doesn't mean they have to be scientists. What's next? Karate? Oh, for fuck's sake. I'm not quite sure what they're up to, but they get interrupted by some Call of Duty cosplayers who gun the men all down. I guess E.T. isn't exactly phoning home after all. At the FBI, Mulder is watching something rather interesting to say the least, when little Miss Scully comes in to join in on the fun.
It's not your usual brand of entertainment.
This comment from her begs the question, just how many times has she walked in the office while Mulder has been watching adult videos? Well, it's not that kind of video. It's apparently footage of an alien autopsy that some guy recorded off his satellite and is now selling for $29.95, plus shipping. Mulder has been fooled by supposed evidence in the past, but the thing that intrigues him so much about this one is the lack of detail and, well, the abrupt ending. These two FBI agents have such a little work going on that they decide to drive down to Allentown, Pennsylvania to find out exactly what this guy is selling. Is this guy a crew member or just a random worker watching the shoot? When they arrive at the guy's home, however, something strange is afoot because the back door is left wide open.
He's still warm.
Well, it's the world of the X-Files, so clearly the guy recorded something he wasn't supposed to, and well, he was taken out because of it. However, the man that killed him was still in the house, so Mulder gives chase. I love the little kick he gives this wood basket. Mulder isn't exactly the most adept at hand-to-hand combat, but at least he has a cute little ankle gun. There's a bit of a language barrier between the two men as the man only speaks Japanese, but Mulder brings him into the police station anyways. And there sure are a lot of prostitutes at this police station.
Yeah, I'm afraid you're gonna have to release him.
What are you talking about?
According to the Japanese diplomatic corps, the man you arrested is a high-ranking diplomat.
So Mulder made a big no-no by arresting a Japanese diplomat, but I didn't realize diplomatic immunity means you can go to another country and shoot people in the head just because they pirate alien autopsy footage.
Diplomatic immunity.
But with Skinner telling him to move on, do you really think Mulder's just gonna drop something like this? Well, of course he isn't, don't be stupid. Oops, looks like Mulder forgot to turn in a piece of evidence he took from the man. The man had a briefcase full of satellite photos and names of people tied to MUFON, with one Betsy Hagopian specifically circled. So while Mulder is going to look over the satellite photos, he sends Scully off to check on the names on that list.
The name of the boat is the Talipus. Just gotta love them German optics.
Thanks to some insight from the lone gunmen, it turns out the Japanese were tracking a ship called the Talipus, a naval salvage ship that was looking for a downed Japanese sub from World War II. However, it appears to have gone somewhere else entirely and is now sitting at a naval shipyard in Newport News, Virginia. So Mulder's gonna go check it out because he thinks they found something other than a downed Japanese sub. Meanwhile, the Japanese diplomat leaves the Japanese embassy and is quickly killed off by a man in his limo.
Hi, Betsy Hagopian?
No, I'm sorry, Betsy's not here right now.
I'm sorry. My name is Dana Scully. I know you.
Scully arrives to speak to Betsy Hagopian and instead finds a bunch of women who claim to know her, despite Scully never having met them. Obviously, Scully is confused because how could they know her? Well, buckle up kids because shit's about to get real. While all that's going on, Mulder is at the shipyard asking some questions about the ship, which docked and was checked for contraband and then left, or so this guy says. Scully is now surrounded by people that claim to know her despite never having met.
Most of us here have been taken many times.
Taken where? The bright white place?
So all of these women were abducted just like Scully, and they all remember seeing her there, despite Scully's memory being spotty at best. Also, it's pretty sad to see this woman who is now being abducted after her and her kids were being spied on by a PDF file. I think it's safe to say that Scully is having a hard time with all this new information. You know, you just can't leave Mulder alone for 5 minutes. The guy went to grab him some information, and Mulder decides to disappear and do some snooping on his own. And what he finds is the ship never actually left. But someone must have alerted something, because a bunch of men with guns pull up to search the place, but somehow miss Mulder, who dives into the water right behind them. Scully thinks there's no way these women have the right person, but why is she still in such denial? Even when it's happening to her, she refuses to believe. They even show her their scars and implants, but that's not enough. Scully wants to know why they're in Betsy's home, and that's when they bring her to see Betsy, who's in the advanced stages of an unknown cancer. Things take a dark turn when the women tell Scully that this is what's going to happen to all of them. The tests that are being performed on the women are all leaving them with an incurable cancer, but that's these random women. No way they would give Scully cancer.
Foreshadowing, is it?
Oh my god, how long was Mulder in that water? Even completely soaked, Mulder can't resist snooping around where armed guards are present. Well, after a nice swim and some UFO spying, Mulder just casually walks back into his apartment where the door is already open. There he finds Skinner, who came to see him, but why be all weird about it by hiding in the dark? He could have gotten his head blown off. Skinner's got the State Department breathing down his neck because the Japanese diplomat was found dead and Japan wants the contents of their briefcase back. This is Mulder and that damn tape all over again.
Agent Scully has it. She has it in the trunk of a rental car.
Poor Scully gets dragged into everything. Skinner's washing his hands of this whole thing and is leaving Mulder to clean up his own mess for once. Mulder meets with Senator Matheson for help because he doesn't know what he should do. The senator tells him to return the briefcase, but also tells him about the Japanese scientists that were murdered, but he claims not to know why they were murdered. He does, however, hand Mulder a list of their names.
Scully,
Why is the door locked?
I got something to show you.
Do you have any idea where I've been?
Allentown?
Scully meets back up with Mulder and tells him everything she found, and she's starting to worry. She finds a picture on his desk of Japanese medical officers from World War II, and Scully seems to recognize one. Although that would be impossible because Mulder points out he died in 1965. The man was a commander of a unit known as 731. Unit 731 was a real unit of the Imperial Japanese Army during World War II. They were also known as the Camo Detachment and Ishii Unit and would perform inhumane tests on people that they would refer to as logs, which is kind of an inside joke because they were telling authorities their facility was a lumber mill as a cover-up for the horrific tests they were conducting. There's also an exploitative horror film based on the subject matter called Men Behind the Sun, or Black Sun 731, which I do not recommend watching as it's incredibly disgusting and I myself have only seen very brief clips. Anyways, now that we're all thoroughly depressed, let's get back to the X-Files. 4 of the men featured in the photo were also on the tape Mulder bought and were just recently found dead.
What am I looking at?
Part of our government's secret railroad. Train cars used to carry test subjects. Used to conduct that autopsy we saw being performed.
The senator gave Mulder a satellite photo of the secret train car used for the autopsy of extraterrestrials, so he's obviously going to search for it. Meanwhile, Scully brings her implant to Agent Pendrell, who makes his series debut and discovers it is in fact man-made. Mulder's snooping around the train yard, and no one seems to notice the grown man prancing around on the roof. Those are some nice Canadian rail cars you got there. Mulder spots the train car when the vehicles pull up. Where are they taking Joe Biden? You know, maybe transporting an alien in broad daylight isn't the smartest idea. Mulder tries running after the train, but they are deceptively fast. Meanwhile, Scully is checking out that autopsy footage again and recognizes one of the men in the video from her abduction. Or what she remembers anyways.
Where are you?
The train yard in Quinnamont, West Virginia. A group of Japanese men just put someone in one of those boxcars we saw in the satellite photos.
Mulder needs to get on that train because he needs to confirm what he saw. Scully tells Mulder that she was right. The man in the photo is still alive, and he's on Mulder's tape. But that's not the only place she remembers him from. At the Ohio train terminal, that same man from earlier that killed the Japanese diplomat takes out another one, while the scientist from the tape awaits to board his train. Mulder arrives at the terminal, but he just misses the train's departure. Shucks.
Agent Scully.
You know, it's been so long since we've last seen X, I thought he was dead. Anyways, he tells Scully to contact Mulder because Mulder must not get on that train. But good luck keeping him off. Anytime you tell Mulder not to do something, he does the exact opposite. He's like a really big toddler.
Mulder, don't get on the train.
See, I don't know why she bothers. Nisei is a good episode, although I would say the plot is a little similar to Paperclip. Paperclip dealt with Nazi war criminals that continued working their experiments long after the war, and here we have scientists from Unit 731 basically doing the same thing. Regardless of the similarity, it's still pretty solid. As fun as the whole alien autopsy stuff is, I think the best parts are when Scully learns more about what happened to her and what may happen to her. The show wasn't really known for its planning of storylines, so I don't know if they really knew where they were going to go from here, but knowing what I do, things are only going to get worse. The episode currently has an 8.5 on IMDb, and I think that's about right. Somewhere between an 8 and a 9 is a good spot. The mythology storyline is still solid and hasn't become convoluted yet with super soldiers, so we're good. The episode was written by Frank Spotnitz, but it was Chris Carter who was inspired to include Unit 731 after reading about the atrocities committed in the New York Times. He thought it would be interesting to write an episode around the idea of war criminals that were given protection so the US government could use them. But like I mentioned earlier, that is a little similar to Paperclip. Originally, Nisei was meant as a standalone mythology episode and not a two-parter, but because of the massive scope of the story, they had to split it into 2 episodes. Executive producer R.W. Goodwin even told Frank to scrap the entire script because it was unfilmable. In the book The Complete X-Files by authors Matt Hurwitz and Chris Knowles, Frank said, Goodwin called Chris and said, "This is unproducible. You've got to throw out the script basically." I was devastated, and Chris said, "Let's make it a 2-parter." The stunt where Mulder jumped on the train was actually performed by David. David likes to do his own stunts, even climbing on the tram car in the episode Ascension. The stunt took 6 weeks to train and prepare for, and producers were a bit worried. But David is a lunatic and always up for a challenge. The aliens in the episode were played by twin siblings, but I'm not sure why they had to be twins when they're covered in makeup. The 11-year-olds were used for the autopsy scene and when the alien is escorted onto the train. They both underwent extensive makeup, including large contact lenses that would give them those dark, soulless eyes of a gray. When Mulder and Scully are watching the alien autopsy footage, Scully brings up the hoax alien autopsy that Fox had shown earlier in the year. Funnily enough, Fox would re-air the alien autopsy special the very next night after this episode aired. The mythology episodes usually aren't known for having many new guest stars or faces, but we did get the arrival of Brendan Beiser as Agent Pendrell. He'll be around for a few more episodes of Season 3 and 5 episodes of Season 4. Stephen McHattie played the red-haired man. He'll return in the very next episode, but outside of the X-Files, he has a ton of credits, playing minor character roles and can be found in an interesting little Canadian horror flick called Pontypool. Robert Ito played Dr. Shirozama, and even though he doesn't have much screen time, I figured he's worth mentioning because of his very long career. He's been in a ton of stuff and provided a lot of voice work over the years. He's best known as playing Sam Fujiyama, the forensic lab technician in 148 episodes of the hit show Quincy M.E. And sadly, he's the last surviving cast member of that show. He retired in 2008 and is currently 92 years old. Nisei is a good mythology episode that helps push the story further, especially with regards to Scully, and it definitely comes recommended. Next up, the story continues as Mulder becomes trapped aboard a train car that is rigged with a bomb in the episode 731. So what does everyone think of Nisei? Let me know down in the comments because I would love to know what you think. Anyways, that's all for today. I hope you're doing great, and as always, stay spooky.
A secret train and its mysterious cargo could give Agent Mulder proof that UFOs exist.
The thing they put in the train, it was alive.
Or silence him forever.
This is bigger than me, you, or the FBI, Agent Mulder.
Your time is limited.
Don't get on the train.
A brand new X-Files, Friday at 9, 8 Central.